Everything in Daytona is very interesting and playful, and it will be here on Sunday. If you need front and back photos, it's a Rolex 24. An hour-long pageant to the start. The opening lap continues. It seems a few months ago when Sunday afternoon rolled. The next morning of Antitam is rare, but hourly wait is often at the edge, and in some cases, beyond that edge. So most of the time elsewhere. It looks like you are, and it's just a fan. EARNHARDT JR Can NASCAR drivers catch up with the Rolex 24 field? Dale Earnhardt Jr. makes a frank evaluation. NASCAR QA love with a modern road course. Credit Daytona Rolex 24. It's normal, as you know. It's one of the Rolex weekends when the faucet isn't frozen and blood is still flowing to the toes. The green flag until 1:40 p.m. on Saturday is actually very brilliant in every respect. Assuming you've layered it properly and did your best to stay away from the bruised northwesterly wind. Despite the cold luggage, the cloudless sky was a great break from the darkness on Thursday and Friday. Was Rolex 24 on Saturday in Daytona the coldest ever? These are the 5 coldest races in history. Survived the night in Daytona? I don't get it. Early Rolex 24 dramas are chaotic and cold, paving the way to the night. Manatees packed in Blue Springs are said to have no elbows, but if so, I found more elbow rooms than thousands of people squeezed into the pre-race standing grid early Saturday afternoon. Prize. Once I heard it, I've heard it more than a dozen times. This must be the largest spectator ever in this race. Speedways do not share the number of attendees, and it is not possible to give a fairly accurate number to people who are crowded in the area of the infield, so a tens of thousands estimate needs to be resolved. The afternoon sunshine turned dark, and along its chilly tags the temperature dropped. The party continued, but it was a persistent feeling, especially for the thousands of people who eventually squeezed into the tent. Yes, it will be a cold night and a colder morning. It's a sad time to destroy a campsite. Sadder when you can't feel your fingers. As for why we're all here, it's a similar atmosphere, but justified. After all, it's part of the job. Unfortunately, I've collected all the parts one brought to town last week and are in cleanup mode. Some are still lapping, but fewer damaged equipment. As the cleanup progresses while waiting for the driver to finish dragging the bucket of bolts to the 24-hour mark. Lucky things are still there. Rolex has 5 classes of cars, and ultimately 5 winners, so if you're willing to watch it, the drama isn't missing. Closing times are always dramatic, if not always theater. It's miserable. What's the worst part of a Rolex 24 for a driver? Get on the golf cart at 3 a.m. Live update of the 24 hours of Daytona, catch up with everything on the truck. The combination of fatigue and the joy of watching the winner is worth the wait. Victory is a victory, but winning in a race that demands so many things, or that forces so many sacrifices in so many ways, is always very different from the other races seen that year. For some winners, it's another notch, and in some cases another trophy. However, for others, the Rolex 24 can be a carrier maker or pivot point. Almost 20 years ago, team owner Michael Shank started a headwind effort to build a quality sports car team and work on the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Over the last decade, Shank has diverged and has begun to put together IndyCar's effort. It was Shank's car that won the 2021 Indianapolis 500 in May last year. Huge thing. Meanwhile, the first monumental moment of Shank came on Sunday on the Rolex weekend in Daytona. Was it a catapult? Looking back now, when we finally won the race, Shank changed the overall trajectory of the company and the team last week, he said. Book some thoughts on what this weekend means for the noisy people when the last embers burn out on Sunday afternoon. The tents are folded and the chicken bones are thrown away. Without them, and without their desire to do something big or difficult, there is no party.